12,000 years ago, yeah. A small village of clustered houses, as you can see, but in the center, there's this extraordinary building, which is much larger. You can see that it's got all these internal walls, but there's no internal doors. This is the communal storage facility for the whole village.
You can see what it looks like because there's a full frame image of the stone on that board up there.
In the sun-scorched hills of southeastern Turkey stands a site that has baffled archaeologists for decades.
The size and scale of Göbekli Tepe unique in comparison to the ones that are around it?
Yes, so far it's a time capsule. It's a memorial to a lost time, largely lost civilization. I think it passed on its cultural genes.
Massive stone pillars adorned with intricate carvings of animals and symbols rise from the ancient dust.
Small animal looking like a sheep or a goat, and again an insect with many legs. Here with 8 legs. Now here we had 6 legs with 8 legs, being clearly a spider.
Göbekli Tepe, at 11,500 years old, predates Stonehenge by a staggering 6,000 years. But while its age has always been impressive, its purpose has remained elusive until now.
The mystery is why suddenly this new form of architecture, this massive megalithic pillars appear.
Recent findings from 2024 suggest this mysterious complex might be the world's oldest solar calendar, possibly commemorating a cosmic event that changed the course of human history. The discovery is rewriting everything we thought we knew about our ancient ancestors. Located near the modern city of Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe sits atop a limestone ridge commanding views of the surrounding landscape. The name itself translates to Potbelly Hill in Turkish, a humble designation for what has become one of archaeology's most revolutionary sites. What makes Göbekli Tepe truly extraordinary isn't just its age, though being built between 9,600 to 8,200 BCE certainly puts it in a class of its own. It's the fact that it was constructed by hunter-gatherers, not the settled agricultural societies we once thought necessary for such monumental architecture. These prehistoric people somehow quarried, carved, and erected limestone pillars weighing up to 20 tons each, arranging them in circular enclosures across the site. The pillars themselves stand like silent sentinels, T-shaped monoliths reaching up to 16 feet tall.
Is enclosure D, which contains the 2 largest upright megaliths, about 18 feet tall and reckoned to weigh somewhere in the range of 20 tons.
Their surfaces tell stories through elaborate carvings of foxes, boars, snakes, vultures, and abstract symbols whose meanings have been lost to time. These weren't crude scratches either, but sophisticated reliefs created with stone tools by people who had mastered the art of working with such unforgiving material. For years, the site presented a profound puzzle. How did supposedly primitive hunter-gatherers organize such a massive construction project? What drove them to invest so much time and energy into these stone circles when survival itself was a daily challenge? And perhaps most importantly, what exactly were they using it for? Initial theories range from it being a temple, a meeting place, or even an ancient observatory. Klaus Schmidt, the German archaeologist who led excavations from 1995 until his death in 2014, famously described it as the first human-built holy place, but concrete evidence for any specific purpose remained frustratingly out of reach. The journey to unlock Göbekli Tepe's secrets began in the 1960s when a joint survey by the universities of Istanbul and Chicago first identified the site. But these early researchers misinterpreted the massive limestone slabs as medieval gravestones, an understandable error given that nothing of this scale and age had ever been found before. It wasn't until 1994 that German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt realized what was actually hiding beneath the soil. Having worked at a similar but smaller Neolithic site called Nevelachori, Schmidt recognized the telltale signs of prehistoric megaliths. The moment I first saw it, I knew I had 2 choices, Schmidt later recalled. Go away and tell nobody or spend the rest of my life working here. He chose the latter, beginning excavations in 1995 that would continue for nearly 2 decades. Layer by layer, Schmidt's team uncovered a series of circular and oval enclosures containing T-shaped pillars arranged like spokes of a wheel. The complexity of the site gradually became apparent. This wasn't just a random collection of stones, but a carefully planned complex built in multiple phases over thousands of years. What truly set Göbekli Tepe apart was its age. Radiocarbon dating placed its oldest layers firmly in the pre-pottery Neolithic period, making it contemporary with the earliest experiments in agriculture. This timing would prove crucial to later interpretations of the site's purpose. The excavation proceeded methodically, with each new enclosure revealing unique features. Enclosure D, uncovered in the early 2000s, would eventually become central to the calendar hypothesis due to its distinctive Pillar 43, a monolith adorned with unusually specific carvings including what appears to be a vulture and various symbols. But the breakthrough didn't come until much later. Throughout the 2010s, researchers continued documenting and analyzing the site's many carvings, looking for patterns. A UNESCO World Heritage designation in 2018 brought increased attention and resources, accelerating research efforts. The pivotal moment came in 2024 when Dr. Martin Sweatman of the University of Edinburgh published findings in the journal Time and Mind that would fundamentally change our understanding of Göbekli Tepe. After years of analyzing the site's symbolism, particularly the curious V-shaped markings found throughout, Sweatman and his team proposed something revolutionary. These weren't just decorative elements, but components of an ancient calendar system, perhaps the oldest yet discovered. At the heart of the 2024 discovery lies Pillar 43, standing in Enclosure D of Göbekli Tepe. This seemingly unassuming limestone slab, when examined through the lens of archaeoastronomy, reveals something extraordinary: a precisely calculated solar calendar etched in stone over 11 millennia ago. The key to this interpretation are the V-shaped symbols carved throughout the site, but particularly prominent on Pillar 43. Dr. Sweatman's research suggests each V symbol represents a single day, with their arrangement forming a complete 365-day solar year. This isn't just any calendar, but a sophisticated lunar solar system that reconciles the lunar months with the solar year. What we're seeing here is evidence of mathematical thinking that wasn't supposed to exist for thousands of years, explained Dr. Sweatman in his published findings. These hunter-gatherers weren't just surviving, they were carefully tracking celestial movements with remarkable precision. The calendar appears to be divided into 12 lunar months of approximately 29.5 days each, totaling around 354 days, 11 days short of a solar year. To account for this discrepancy, the ancient architects of Göbekli Tepe included 11 epigomenal or extra days, bringing the total to 365. This correction demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of astronomical cycles that predates similar knowledge in ancient Egypt by thousands of years. But how exactly does one read this stone calendar? The arrangement of symbols follows a specific pattern, with the V markings clustered in ways that correspond to lunar phases. Particularly telling is a bird-like figure on Pillar 43 wearing what appears to be a V symbol around its neck. According to Sweatman's analysis, this figure likely represents the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and a critically important astronomical event for early societies. The precision is remarkable. Modern calculations show that a solar year is actually 365.24 days long, requiring the occasional leap year to stay aligned with the seasons. While we don't know if Göbekli Tepe's builders had accounted for this small discrepancy, the very fact that they came so close to the correct number suggests careful multi-generational observation of the sky. This discovery challenges long-held assumptions about Neolithic capabilities. Creating such a calendar would have required years of consistent astronomical observation, mathematical thinking, and a system to record and transmit this knowledge across generations. It suggests a level of social organization and abstract thinking previously thought impossible for hunter-gatherer societies. Further supporting the calendar hypothesis are the alignments of certain structures with celestial events. Several doorways and openings at Göbekli Tepe appear positioned to capture specific astronomical phenomena such as the rising sun at solstices or equinoxes. These alignments are unlikely to be coincidental, especially when considered alongside the symbolic calendar system. What's particularly fascinating is that this calendar may have had both practical and ritualistic purposes. On the practical side, tracking seasonal changes would have been invaluable for hunter-gatherers, monitoring animal migrations and plant availability. Ritualistically, it might have helped schedule important ceremonies tied to celestial events. What if Göbekli Tepe wasn't just tracking time but commemorating a cosmic catastrophe that nearly ended human civilization? This compelling theory connects the site to one of the most dramatic climate events in recent Earth history, the Younger Dryas period. Around 12,900 years ago, Earth was emerging from the last ice age when temperatures suddenly plunged, plunging the planet back into near glacial conditions for another 1,200 years. This abrupt climate reversal coincided with the extinction of many large mammals and disrupted early human societies worldwide. For decades, scientists debated what could have caused such a sudden climate shift. In recent years, evidence has mounted supporting the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, the theory that a fragmented comet struck Earth around this time, and remarkably, some of Göbekli Tepe's carvings appear to reference this very event. The symbolism on Pillar 43 isn't just a calendar, explains Dr. Sweatman. It appears to be a record of an astronomical catastrophe witnessed by the people who built Göbekli Tepe. The pillar features what looks like a headless human figure, potentially representing mass casualties, alongside images that may depict a comet and its devastating aftermath. Geological evidence for such an impact continues to accumulate. Researchers have found platinum-rich dust layers, nanodiamonds, and glassy microspherules, all potential markers of a cosmic impact in geological samples dated to the beginning of the Younger Dryas period. These findings span sites across 4 continents, suggesting a global event. If Göbekli Tepe was indeed built to commemorate this catastrophe, it would explain several puzzling aspects of the site. The massive investment in labor makes more sense if it was motivated by an existential threat that remained in cultural memory. The site's emphasis on astronomical observation becomes logical if it was meant to watch for similar threats from the sky. Most provocatively, the timing suggests the Younger Dryas impact may have indirectly spurred the development of agriculture. As the climate rapidly deteriorated, hunter-gatherer groups would have faced unprecedented pressure to find new food sources. Göbekli Tepe, situated in the Fertile Crescent where agriculture first emerged, sits at the epicenter of this revolutionary adaptation. We might be looking at a direct link between cosmic catastrophe and the birth of civilization as we know it, suggests Dr. Sweatman. The calendar would then serve a dual purpose, commemorating the disaster while helping future generations track seasonal changes crucial for early farming. While the calendar hypothesis has generated excitement in archaeological circles, Göbekli Tepe almost certainly served multiple purposes beyond timekeeping. The site's complexity suggests it wasn't built for a single function, but rather evolved over thousands of years to meet different needs of the societies that maintained it. One enduring interpretation, first proposed by Klaus Schmidt, is that Göbekli Tepe functioned primarily as a ceremonial or ritual center, essentially the world's first temple. The evidence for this remains compelling. The site lacks the typical debris associated with permanent settlements such as cooking hearths, middens, or extensive residential structures. Instead, the focus seems to be on the monumental stone circles, suggesting their primary purpose was ceremonial rather than practical. The T-shaped pillars themselves may represent stylized human figures, possibly ancestors or spiritual beings. Many stand in pairs at the center of enclosures, facing inward as if presiding over whatever activities took place there. Animal carvings might represent totemic spirits or have played roles in shamanistic practices of early hunter-gatherer groups. These were likely places where people gathered for special occasions, not everyday living, explained archaeologist Dr. Lee Clare, who continued excavations after Schmidt's death. Discovery of animal bones, particularly skulls, suggests ritual feasting may have been part of these gatherings. More recent excavations have complicated this picture, however. Domestic buildings discovered in later layers suggest the site may have eventually incorporated residential functions. Sophisticated rainwater harvesting systems indicate long-term occupation by at least some portion of the community. This has led some researchers to propose that Göbekli Tepe served as a communal hub where dispersed hunter-gatherer groups periodically gathered. These gatherings might have served social purposes, facilitating trade, arranging marriages, sharing knowledge, and maintaining cultural ties between otherwise separate groups. Intriguingly, the site might have functioned differently for different segments of society. Some enclosures show evidence of restricted access, suggesting hierarchical social structures or perhaps initiation rituals where only certain individuals were permitted entry. The astronomical alignment of structures combined with the calendar hypothesis also supports the idea that Göbekli Tepe served as an observatory for tracking celestial events. This knowledge would have had both practical value for timing seasonal activities and spiritual significance for understanding cosmic cycles. The revelations about Göbekli Tepe's purpose don't just solve an archaeological puzzle, they fundamentally challenge our understanding of human development and capabilities. For generations, archaeologists and historians have operated under what now appears to be a flawed assumption that monumental architecture, complex social organization, and sophisticated astronomical knowledge could only emerge after the advent of agriculture and settled village life. Göbekli Tepe flips this narrative completely. Here we have hunter-gatherers, supposedly primitive nomads living hand-to-mouth, designing and building massive stone monuments, carving intricate symbols, and tracking celestial movements with mathematical precision. And they did all this before settling down to farm. We need to completely rethink the capabilities of pre-agricultural societies, notes archaeologist Dr. Jens Notroff, who's worked extensively at the site. These weren't simple people stumbling towards civilization. They were complex societies with deep cultural and scientific knowledge. The implications ripple across multiple fields. In archaeology, the temple first, agriculture second sequence at Göbekli Tepe suggests that religious or astronomical imperatives may have been driving forces behind the Neolithic revolution rather than merely consequences of it. People may have settled down not just to grow food, but to maintain these important ceremonial centers. For anthropology, the site demonstrates that hunter-gatherers could achieve levels of social complexity previously thought impossible without agricultural surpluses. They somehow organized labor, specialized tasks, transmitted knowledge across generations, and maintained cultural continuity for thousands of years, all without writing. The astronomical significance holds equally profound implications. If the calendar interpretation is correct, it pushes back the timeline for systematic celestial observation by millennia. These weren't just people noticing the changing seasons, but carefully tracking, recording, and predicting astronomical events with remarkable accuracy. Perhaps most poignantly, the potential connection to the Younger Dryas impact suggests that catastrophe and resilience have shaped human development from our earliest days. The very traits we consider hallmarks of civilization, architecture, astronomy, religion, community organization may have emerged partly in response to an existential threat from the skies. What we're seeing at Göbekli Tepe is the birth of human resilience in the face of disaster, suggests Dr. Sweatman. These people didn't just survive a catastrophe, they created something magnificent to ensure its memory would never fade. The story of Göbekli Tepe is far from complete. With approximately 90% of the site still unexcavated, archaeologists are continuing their meticulous work, expecting many more revelations in the coming years. Current excavations, led by teams from Istanbul University, the Şanlıurfa Museum, and the German Archaeological Institute, are employing cutting-edge technologies alongside traditional archaeological methods. Ground-penetrating radar has already revealed dozens more stone circles buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. These newer techniques allow researchers to map structures without disturbing them, creating a comprehensive plan before physical excavation begins. Archaeologists are particularly interested in finding more evidence related to the calendar hypothesis. We're looking for additional pillars with similar V-shaped markings, explains Dr. Notroff. If we can find a consistent pattern across multiple enclosures, it would strongly support the calendar interpretation. Future research will also focus on interdisciplinary approaches. Archaeoastronomers are modeling how the night sky would have appeared 12,000 years ago, looking for correlations with the site's layout and symbolism. Paleoclimatologists are analyzing soil samples for evidence of the Younger Dryas impact, while geneticists study ancient DNA to understand the population movements around this crucial period. conservation presents ongoing challenges. The limestone pillars exposed after millennia underground are vulnerable to weathering and erosion. Teams are developing new preservation techniques to protect these irreplaceable artifacts while still making them accessible for research. Every season brings new discoveries, notes Dr. Claire. We're only beginning to understand what Göbekli Tepe can tell us about our origins. As excavations continue, this ancient stone calendar may reveal even more about how a cosmic catastrophe potentially sparked the birth of human civilization.